Embark on a lifetime's journey. From a determined girl with dreams that knew no bounds, to a young woman breaking barriers and challenging the status quo. Discover the world through Dr. Lisa L. Campbell's eyes. A healthcare consultant, a keynote speaker, an educator and a coach. 50 years, countless stories, endless insights. A Chicago native, her heart beats for every soul she's touched. Grow with Me, a journey of resilience, self-discovery, and the transformative power of personal growth. Join Dr. Lisa L. Campbell and grow with her. Available now. Embark on a lifetime's journey. From a determined girl with dreams that knew no bounds, to a young woman breaking barriers and challenging the status quo. Discover the world through Dr. Lisa L. Campbell's eyes. A healthcare consultant, a keynote speaker, an educator and a coach. 50 years, countless stories, endless insights. A Chicago native, her heart beats for every soul she's touched. Grow with Me, a journey of resilience, self-discovery, and the transformative power of personal growth. Join Dr. Lisa L. Campbell and grow with her. Available now.
Welcome to today's session with Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. Before we dive into today's topic, let's quickly go over a few housekeeping details. Throughout this session, you can send in your questions using the chat feature, and we'll do our best to address them. If you're interested in staying updated on future events, be sure to follow Dr. Campbell on all social media channels using the handle @Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. To contact Dr. Campbell outside of this event, simply scan the QR code that appears on your screen. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our host, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday 30-minute growth session. Can you believe it is the end of August at this point? I don't know about you, but here in the Chicagoland area, we are under a heat advisory. And so everybody's trying to stay cool and calm, and I hope that everyone is safe. Today's presentation focuses on igniting your creativity and your innovation. And when I think about the word creativity, I think about our ability to create. So when I think about creation, I think about a chef who's preparing a beautiful meal. I think about a violinist who is playing an instrument. But each and every one of us has some type of creativity, creative, innovative way that we do things. But I think oftentimes we also shy away from doing the thing or trying new things because we are afraid that we will fail. Today, I have with me for our Wednesday session, Lucy Walkup. And I had to figure out, I was like, how do I say Lucy's name? Because, you had another name and now you got a different name. And I am excited just for our listening, viewing audience to hear from you today. I believe that we met in 2000. I want to say it's around 2004, 2003. It was a long time ago. You're probably thinking, wow, how do you remember that? Well, I'll tell you how I remember. So we are both credentialed health information management professionals, and we attend these conferences every September, October. And not so long ago, we were young, footloose, and free, and we would go to after hours events after the conference sessions would end. Because of course, we would go to the sessions, right? Because we got to get our CEUs. But we would go to after hours events and dance and laugh. And that's when we were all younger. I think now we're like in the bed by 10 o'clock, dance a
At
little
least.
bit, right? Crying and menopausal and all those things, but still having fun. So that was a long time ago, and I have watched you grow and kind of like just sitting on the sidelines. One of the things I love about Facebook is that we have an opportunity to watch each other grow without even being in that person's presence. So before we jump into just our casual conversation, tell our listening and viewing audience about your background and any other information that you want to share.
All right. Well, I have over 20 years of HIM experience, and I'm one of those people that are very passionate about their profession. I love what I do. I think it's important when you wake up in the morning that you don't dread going to your job or you don't dread what you do. And I can't say I wake up in the morning and I feel dread. I absolutely love what I do. And there's so much variety that we can do as HIM professionals that, like Lisa said, to grow and to be innovative, you can always do different things and have different experiences and just keep growing just to make yourself valuable and, just feel worthy of what you do every day.
It's funny you mentioned about you enjoy what you do, you kept growing. It reminds me of 1999. In 1999, I was a director at a hospital here in Chicago, not HIM. And I was what was known as the administrative director. Many of my HIM friends don't know that my degrees are in healthcare management and not health information management, right? So I have a post-bachelor certificate in health information management, but I entered healthcare in just true management because I thought I was going to be a hospital CEO. And I quickly figured out in 1999 that I did not want to be a hospital CEO. And primarily it was because as the administrative director with a department of over 100 physicians, I had clerical staff that reported to me. They were in the union. And one of the things that bothered me about that place in general, and then the ladies that worked with me, was that there was no growth. Everyone was held hostage by salary and benefits, good benefits. And when I say that, people are like, hostage, what do you mean? Yeah, because they were in the union, they had great benefits, not necessarily, a great salary. At that
Right.
time, I made $50,000 a year. I remember exactly. And when I would try to get them to do a Microsoft Excel class, a PowerPoint class, they were like, nope, I'm good, right? So I think one of them was like still typing on a typewriter. And because I am a person that gets bored if I'm not growing, I stayed there. And after I left, started my business because I wanted to be basically free to just move about the country, free to just continue to grow. If I'm not growing, I'm bored and I'm not happy. Now, my
Right.
husband says, you just work too much. And it's not really work if you enjoy what you do. So the fact that you've been in health information management for 20 years, that speaks volumes because there are so many people who pull up to the building, they're in the parking lot, they're crying before they go in because they hate, you know, their job. But when you enjoy it, you have a career and you enjoy it, you're passionate about it, and it allows you to walk in your creative space. So I'm going to ask a question. And for those of you who are watching this session, just so you know, I don't send questions in advance. I just ask questions because I am about authentic experiences. We have enough fake everything. You know, you got fake body parts and fake hair and fake eyelashes. But I think that for the people who I'm speaking to, they want people who can bring their authentic self to the table because then they realize they're not alone. So you got a new job a while ago after being at another job for a very long time. Talk to us about why you decided, and you don't got to give all your business. Why you decided to transition out of that place? How long were you at that other place? And then what ultimately led to you making the leap to walk into a new organization?
That's a very good question. I'm one of those people that I'm very loyal to my employer and I don't like change. And I think that's one thing you noticed about me as we've gotten to know each other. Sometimes I stay pretty stagnant, which gets kind of boring. Um, but at my previous job, I was there for over 11 years and I loved everything I did. I was the HIM manager of two smaller hospitals. So I got to dabble in release of information and coding and chart analysis and physician contracts, physician audits, everything. So I really enjoyed what I did. But while I worked there, I did finish my bachelor's degree. So I thought, there's really no more room for me necessarily to move up and still keep my priority as my family. I didn't want to work 24/7. So I thought, well, why don't we see what else is out there? I've been here for 11 years. Um, I believe in God and I believe God leads me places. So I just felt God was speaking to me of, hey, I have something better for you. And so I just started looking around. I found several jobs that I was interested in, but one was just above the rest. So I thought, well, here goes, jump out of my comfort zone. And it was very scary. I was really nervous. Anyone that has switched jobs knows it takes time to get into a new job. And if you've been somewhere for 11 years, you know the ropes, you know who to go to. And I've been at my new job since October and I'm still kind of floundering a little bit, but it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career is to um, change into this new organization, as well as I'm doing something different. So I'm constantly learning and growing. And I have always felt it didn't matter what job I was in, whatever I learned from that job, I was able to take it to my next job. So you just keep growing on those building blocks. And sometimes I don't understand, why am I having to learn this? But then at my next job, I'm like, that's why I had to do that. So I have loved the change and is very refreshing.
So two key points I want to call out just based on what you said. So number one, change is scary, but change is good in order to grow.
It is.
And I just finished reading this book, Atomic Habits. I talked about it last week. And one of the things that I gleaned from the book was that it just takes little small habits that, in the big grand scheme of things, equal a lot.
Mhm.
I read another book called You Owe You. And the author, Dr. Eric Thomas, talked about that if you just do something for 1% per day, at the end of the year, you got 365% growth. But I think the fear part, the unwillingness to change, is what really holds a lot of people back.
I agree.
So you may or may not know this, but I started a coaching business last December, and it is called The Growth Motivator, where I help individuals and organizations shed the weight that is holding them hostage. And I'm not talking about physical weight, because I'm not an exercise physiologist. I have my own struggles with weight throughout my entire adulthood. I get on a scale not every day, but several times a week because I'm monitoring, what I'm eating. So right now, I'm like half fat and half muscle. And so my goal is to, build my muscle as we get older. But a lot of people today, and we saw this, before the pandemic, in the pandemic, and now post pandemic, a lot of people are like the anchor that they throw into the ocean when a boat docks. They're just stuck, and they don't have the strength, they don't have the community, they don't have the resources to pull that anchor out and just make one little step towards whatever, that next step is. The other thing you talked about was the experience that you had at one place. You brought that experience forward.
Mhm.
I work with a coach, and one of the things that she taught us is no experience left behind. That's powerful because experience is something that belongs to you. And once you have it, no one can take it from you. And I think we have this old school mindset where they say, okay, on your resume, only list the last 10 years. But what if something I did 20 years ago made me who I am today?
Mhm.
The person who's looking at my resume, they're not going to see that I actually have that skill set. And we've been trained that that's the past. And so we just don't bring it forward. But I'm going to tell you, there are some things in my past that taught me some valuable lessons. And I'm definitely bringing that experience forward so that I don't repeat the mistakes of my past.
Exactly. Exactly.
So tell us about how you operate from a creative perspective. Do you have hobbies? Like, what are some things that you do that maybe I don't even know?
Well, I do have some hobbies. Some of them deal professionally, like I do enjoy going to my state meetings or my national meetings. But more on a personal level, I like to garden. I have an herb garden, then I have my big garden. If my garden produces, I like to can. I also like to read books, which I rather read than watch TV sometimes. So sometimes I'll go to bed and read my book, and my family will stay up and watch TV. I also like to put puzzles together or play games. So my great grandmother always said, she was very bright lady, and she just said, always keep learning. So she always read books. She always did crossword puzzles. She just kept doing something to keep her mind busy and growing. And so I've kind of always just kept that in mind of, even if it's playing a game with my family, you're just always staying busy, and you're just growing, and that can turn into hobbies, I think.
So the garden, let's talk about this garden because I want to give an analogy, but because I don't have a green thumb and because I don't garden, tell me about your gardening process in terms of, like, I know you got to put some seeds in there and there's a process. Pick one item that you grow that is just flourishing and walk us through that process. Like, how did it start and where you are today?
Well, my garden is rough just because we've moved, so the soil isn't the best. So we have to keep treating the soil with lime, or we have feeder hogs, so we'll put some manure and mix it in with the dirt. But my tomatoes don't do too bad. So you just have to I currently, since I don't have a greenhouse, I currently buy my little tomato plants from a local greenhouse, and I plant those. I add some Epsom salt with it to help with the growth process. Usually, I live in Missouri, so usually I don't have to water my garden. But if it does get pretty dry, then I have to water my tomato plants. I have to put cages around them so as they grow, they have support and they don't fall over. And then once the tomatoes start coming on, you almost every day or every other day you harvest your tomatoes, and then I either eat them or I can them. And so a garden can keep you busy. You have to be out there often harvesting them and after they grow, and it's very relaxing. It's working with your hands, getting in the earth, working with the earth.
Wow. So let me just unpack what you just said. So number one, you just routed off a whole bunch of steps to the process. Things that I don't even know what you're talking about, because I do not cut the grass. I look at the grass. I like for the grass to be green. We do not have any flowers in our backyard. But you just talked about your process for how you get to what you are growing. And I think a lot of times, because we're stuck, first of all, we don't take the time to continuously learn. We should be learning, or we should be growing faster than, let me back up. Too much caffeine. We should be learning faster than we are growing. Learning faster than we're growing. So that when you get to the place that you are destined to be, you're ready. And I'm not talking about, going to school. I think a lot of people equate being educated or growing with going to school. But like you, I do a lot of reading. In fact, I have 10 books right now on my nightstand that are in rotation for me to read currently. And I carry my book with me so that I can, when I break for lunch. This week I'm reading the 5 a.m. Club, and I positioned this book right after Atomic Habits because I started reading the 5 a.m. Club before, but I needed to start over. But what I'm doing today is positioning myself for the future. I realized that in order for me to have a productive day, I had to have certain habits that I do every morning. But then I also have to get up early enough
And you're my cheerleader. We
Yes.
want to see the success for each other.
Yes. And one of my favorite things is when we get to conference, or if we are in a leadership position in our state and we see each other, it's just hugs and like, like
Mhm.
we just saw each other yesterday, but we didn't. But that's a true relationship, a true connection that you need, because then you feel like you're not alone.
Exactly. Yep.
So we are about 25 minutes in. These sessions are only 30 minutes. I try to keep them 30 minutes because, after 30 minutes, I'm tired of talking. So when you talk so much, you just get tired of talking. What would you say to a person, man, woman, whomever, who says, I can't do it, and so I'm not going to do it?
Oh. Um, well, first of all, I'd say I used to be one of those people, and I would encourage anyone, if you have that idea, to just take a step, just one step forward. Keep things in perspective. It doesn't have to be a giant leap at first, just one step forward, and then just keep moving forward. And then after after you look back, you're like, wow, I really came a long ways. So it doesn't have to be a huge leap. Just don't let fear hold you back. You might regret it. So just keep moving forward, and I think anyone would be amazed at what they have the potential to do if they just take a step forward.
And so thank you for sharing that. I will share with you something I shared last week. That last week I was in week 4 of an asthma exacerbation on a 4th dose of steroids. And taking steroids is very emotional for me because, number one, it causes me to eat more, which is counterproductive when you're trying to, maintain your weight, lose weight. But also, it makes my face rounder. And so the increased eating, the face blowing up, is something that tries to distract me. And so last Tuesday at between 3:30, 3:45 in the morning, God spoke to me and said, if you take the first step, I'll carry you the rest of the way. And so that spoke volumes in a variety of areas in my life. One is professionally, one was related to exercising. And so I literally got up and went downstairs and started working out. Even though I was, experiencing previously difficulty breathing, I was able to work out for 30 minutes. And that day is when my health turned the corner,
Yeah,
getting better.
very good.
But it was
Very
just that one little step.
Yep. It takes just one little step. Yep.
Well, any closing remarks before we say goodbye?
No, I just want to thank you for having me, and you've been a huge part of my life, and not pushing me, but very much encouraging me to just take next steps and don't let fear hold me back. So I do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. And you know what's so funny? I have recently decided, because I have been pushing a lot of people to move out of their comfort zone. Because in this day and age, I don't want us to be the 70-year-olds talking about, I wish I would have done.
Exactly.
I want to be looking at pictures and be like, man, remember when we did?
Look at what we did.
We were
Yeah.
dancing on top of the bar stools at Coyote Ugly in Denver, right?
Yeah.
Just being able to relive those moments and not be sad about it, but be happy.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listening, viewing audience, don't forget, you can purchase a copy of my new book, grow with me by scanning the QR code that is on your screen. Well, until next week, this is Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator, with your 30 minutes of motivation.
We would like to express sincerest appreciation to each one of you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or would like to connect with Dr. Campbell, please take a moment to scan the QR code on your screen. On behalf of Dr. Lisa L. Campbell and the entire team, we want to thank you once again for your participation. We hope you found today's event valuable and wish you a wonderful rest of your day.